Saturday Night Theatre. We present Marjorie Westbury, Geoffrey Winkett and Brian Haynes in Late Call, the novel by Angus Wilson and a radio version by Eric Ewens. Late Call.
Putting up with an old man like me.
Always a jolly one.
Palmyra Court won't be the same place.
Well, are we all met, as Bottom says in Act 3 of The Dream? Oh, Captain Calvert isn't here. Where's the captain?
My husband won't be coming. He had to go to his club.
Well, let us proceed then. This is a sad occasion for us all.
Yes, indeed.
I know you will forgive me if I recall my own retirement. We old people become very egotistical. But on that occasion, I said to my girls, always make time your slave. Never let it be your master.
Yes.
Now that you're retiring, dear Mrs. Calvert, you won't have to be an early riser any longer. For the rest of your life, you'll be able to ask for a late call. So, just in case you feel that time has caught up with you, now that you're retiring, we've decided to give you this clock, which you can set for your late calls. And we shall picture you defying time, lying snugly in bed when the clock strikes 7, just turning over and going to sleep again, knowing that you haven't got to worry about all the troublesome residents of Palmyra Court, to whom you've been so very kind for so many years. And if, when the clock strikes, you do think of us, don't remember all our little grumbles and grouses. Just remember that you brought a lot of comfort to people, many of whom were old and most of whom were lonely.
You speak for yourself. I'm not lonely.
Oh, we know all about sailors, Commander. And now, if I may embark again, Mrs. Calvert, I ask you to accept this clock as a token of our esteem, and we all wish you a long and a happy retirement.
Thank you all very much indeed. I was never one for making speeches, and now it's too late to begin. It is 15 years since I came to Palmyra Court, and over 40 since I managed my first boarding house at Bognor. I've always tried to provide a home and make people comfortable, and it's nice to know that you think I have not entirely failed. I shall treasure this clock, and in its face I shall see all your faces. I knew my own dial had got a bit battered, but I didn't expect to have it repaired quite so soon. But thank you very much, all the same. Come in. Commander, what can I do for you?
Oh, excuse me, Mrs. Calvert. I thought the captain might be here.
He's still at his club, Commander. Can I help?
Well, it's not very, that is, you see, when will he be back?
Does he owe you some money?
Well, if it wasn't that I'm sure the captain's forgotten about it, and I know you're leaving early tomorrow.
I'll give you a cheque. How much is it?
£90, Mrs. Calvert.
£90? Oh, dear. I'm afraid I can't settle that amount now. I'll speak to Captain Calvert as soon as we've settled in at my son's.
Oh, I hope you don't
My
think...
dear Commander, if I'd known about it earlier,
But
I
you
could have...
didn't. But I thought...
This is the first I've heard of it.
Oh. Oh, well,
I'll see to it as soon as I can, Commander.
Thank you, Mrs. Calvert. I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me, Miss Reynolds.
Hello, Commander. Hello, Pat. I missed you.
I didn't come to the great occasion, Mrs. Calvert. I couldn't face the Hutton on the soapbox. I've had my fill of headmistresses, matrons, wardens, the lot.
I only went to the village school.
Lucky you. Anyway, I was definitely anti-clock, so I brought you this. May you smell nice wherever you go.
Oh, thank you.
Smell it?
Ooh, oh, it's lovely. Oh, I've always used soap and water. Perfume's wasted on a fat old thing like me.
Oh, it's never too late to start. By the way, not to worry about the £20. Any old time will do.
Oh,
I
dear.
must say, I do think you could have asked me yourself instead of sending the captain round.
I didn't, Pat. You see, the captain...
It's too bad of him. I'll give him a piece of my mind when I see him. I like the old boy, but why couldn't he say he wanted it for himself?
It's his card debts. And horses.
Well, not to worry, Mrs. C. Definitely not to worry. Just stop his pocket money from me, that's all. Well, goodbye, Mrs. C. The very best of luck.
Goodbye, Pat. And thank you.
Pardon?
Oh, for God's sake, Arthur, get into your bed.
I said pardon, didn't I?
You always say pardon and then think everybody will forgive what you've done. Oh, go on, get to bed. We've got a tiring journey in the morning.
Bloody nice one, I can see, if we're going to use that martyred tone all the way. I got out of your way on a filthy wet night, and this is all the thanks I get. God knows I try to do everything I can for you.
You don't have to do anything for me, Arthur, except not to deceive me and tell lies.
What do you mean, lies?
You told Pat Reynolds the money you borrowed was for me.
So that ruddy cow's come mooing to you, has she? I thought she was supposed to be a friend of yours. Nice way to show a feeling for an invalid.
Arthur, I will not have you telling people I'm an invalid. The doctor advised me to retire only because I've got to rest and take things easy, not get excited. High blood pressure does not make you an invalid, so don't you call me an invalid when we get to Harold's.
Who the hell's interested? You've got a damn sight too self-centered here at East Sea, Sylvia, let me tell you that. People at Castle New Town won't care whether Mrs. Arthur Cabot has high blood pressure or not. You better get that into your head. Are you listening?
Yes, Arthur, and I should think the whole hotel can hear you.
Damn the hotel. We saved ourselves the bones for them. Don't owe them anything.
Oh, you owe Pat £20 and the commander 90 and heaven knows what beside that I don't know of.
Commander's loans between two gentlemen of the forces. I don't know how the cat has the cheek to talk up. All right. So you know everything. What the hell's it got to do with you anyway? They're my debts and I'll settle them.
You
Anyhow, I only borrowed the money so that you wouldn't be worried with a lot of small bills. All this moving costs more than you think.
Arthur, don't be childish. You've had nothing to do with the moving, as you know. You didn't even pack your own clothes.
Well, is my health...
Yes, we had a couple of old crocks, but don't let's waste what breath's left in us and stay aroused. You know if you want money, you've only to come to me. I'll always do my best to make your pension go further. I read they're going to raise them.
You read? You believe all you read.
Oh, well, let's get to sleep. It's funny. Usually I have lots of little worries about the hotel. Leaking taps, burnt toast, room keys. And tonight there's nothing. Just one big worry about the future.
You're not to worry, Sylvie. If it doesn't work out at Harold's, we can always go elsewhere. We're not tied. If only we'd had Len to go to.
Now, Arthur, you know Len was far too restless ever to have a home of his own.
They take me lungs in World War I and my favourite son in World War II.
I'd have liked to go to Iris.
And then they kill my little girl on their blasted road.
She'd have been 27 last August. No, Arthur, there's only Harold left. And he's just lost his wife.
I don't like to say it, but if Beth was still alive, I'd go to the workhouse first.
Well, I don't think they have them nowadays,
I
dear.
bet they have, dolled up under another name. No, I never liked that Beth.
That's unfair, Arthur. She meant well.
What is Harold? Pompous ass?
Now, you have always enjoyed your visits to Castle. There's 3 lovely children. Judy's still at school, but Mark and Ray are working.
A visit's a visit, but this is permanent. And then he lives in Enright Avenue, in a street. Now he's in an attached house with a bloody great garden.
Yes, Harold's done very well. He couldn't do it on his salary as headmaster. It's the money he makes from those textbooks. I'm dying to see the house.
I'll have to find a new local.
The buses are handy.
Well, it's all this upset.
I find it very exciting. One more breakfast here, and then our next one will be in a new house, in a new town, in a new life.
What's that? What the hell?
It's only the breakfast, Arthur. You remember Harold fitted it all up last night.
Lord, I thought I was back in the trenches.
And there's boiled eggs and toast and coffee. I'll switch these things
Just
off.
wish you would.
Yes?
Get back to bed, Gran. I'll do it. Where has he put the trays?
And how's my pretty little granddaughter this morning?
Breakfast in bed. I've never had it before, you know, unless I was ill.
It's Sunday, Gran. And anyhow, Dad thought you'd be tired after your journey. He set the eggs at 4 minutes. I hope that's right.
Just right, Judy. But I ought to have been downstairs getting breakfast for all of you. After all, you're working the rest of the week. Your father tells me you're studying hard for your exams.
Oh, so he's noticed, has he? He didn't mention it to me. Now, you just stay in bed.
Watch out, Judy. You don't want to spoil your grandmother, you know. I never have.
No.
There you are. I'm sorry about this awful jelly marmalade. It was Mark's turn to do the shopping, and he's got terrible taste. Now, there's no hurry about getting up. Dad'll be up to see you as soon as he's finished. Bon appetit.
French, if you please. Well, I like my little granddaughter. But what is all this nonsense? I never seen such fiddle-faddle. Why's my egg wearing a pixie hood?
To keep it warm.
Well, I can't get it off.
Oh, don't be so silly, Arthur. Oh, it's all very nice.
Very nice. It's like being in a baby chair again, all strapped in. And the egg spoon only holds enough for a baby anyway. Oh, I can't eat this dribbling muck. That machine doesn't know what 4 minutes is.
Eat your toast, then.
It's too fat and it doesn't taste like bread. Oh, how do I get out? Wriggle under?
You just unclip the bed table. Shh. I think Harold's coming.
Come in.
Come in.
Good morning, good morning. How are we all today? Sleep well?
Very nice breakfast, Harold.
Very nice.
First Sunday in the month. Judy's on duty today. It's a nice room, isn't it? I only hope Beth's choice of mustard with white isn't going to prove too much for you, Mother. It wasn't really intended to be lived with for life.
Rather hot stuff, isn't it?
My dear Dad, if there's anything you don't like, it goes out. It's your room. But we'll have to keep the wallpaper for the time being. Though, as far as I can remember, you were never very choosy about how Mother's rooms were furnished.
Oh, Dad'll be all right with the yellow.
My sight won't last much longer anyway.
Oh, what a misery you are.
I've left the minimum of furniture in here so that you can have plenty of space for your own stuff when it arrives.
It's very nice, dear. I don't know how we shall live up to it. Do you, Dad?
Oh, we'll live up to it, all right. Your mother's as pleased as punch, really, Harold, and so am I.
Good. That's that, then. Well, come down when you're ready, and if you've rested enough since you arrived, we'll tour the estate. Take your time. No need to hurry. Well, ah, she blows. The sycamores melling Cashel. Ashlar blocks, you see, give it strength. And the white weatherboarding preserves the local character. I'm all for picture house windows, aren't you, Mother?
It's very unique, isn't it, Harold?
It's a ranch-type house.
Yes, silly. You'll be expected to round up a couple of steers before breakfast. Your mother's a bit heavy for a day, Harold.
Yes, ranches for the Cashel tycoons. They were built to try and persuade our industrial executives to stay in the community. But, of course, most of them prefer to buy up the local rectories and manor houses. That's the great problem here at the moment. The Good Child's Meadow affair.
Oh.
But you'll hear enough about it from me later. Suffice it to say that the government has set up an inquiry commission and I'm keeping an eye on them.
That's the stuff to give the troops.
However, there's enough of us to fill the present number of houses. We're as tycoonish as the new town intends to accommodate. Among them, your ever-loving son, the textbook tycoon.
I think it's a lovely house.
Now, over here, on this side of the house, we're on the very outer edge of the whole new town, Mother.
Are you?
There's a circular road in the dip there that joins up with the trunk road, but you can't see it.
Ah.
All you can see is the country. And on the other side of those hills is the Midlands.
The Midlands? I've always lived at the seaside. Even as a little girl on the farm, I was only 20 miles from the sea. You've got a lovely home, Harold.
We have, all of us.
Thank you.
One of Beth's last hopes was that you would move in here sometime. And, of course, she didn't know then she was dying or that you were building up blood pressure. By the way, if the weathermen are right, we're in for a deep freeze from tomorrow, which may well keep you indoors for a while, Mother.
Well, it's only 4 weeks to Christmas, you know.
But I'm not an invalid, dear.
No, but we're going to treat you like one for a bit.
Oh, dear. Have I got as old as that? That's just the phrase I always used to my oldest residents.
Well, folks, there it is, the Calvert estate. As to the garden, as you see, we don't have any.
No.
Just the little apple orchard, and the rest is lawn. And that's electrically cut. Oh, by the way, Dad, it's lucky for you that you've come at this time of year. Otherwise, you'd have to add the electric mower to the many infernal machines we're going to instruct Mum in later on.
There's one damn machine I'll never use, and that's certain.
It's never too late to learn, Arthur.
I can guess, Dad. No, we won't confiscate your old cutthroat.
No, you won't.
Now, let's go in and see if those lazy blighters are out of bed yet. Unless one of them is on breakfast duty, they can lie in a bit on Sundays, but it's after 10. Beth and I were very un-English about gardens. We were far too busy to bother with one. Far too extrovert, I suppose you might say.
Introversion! Extroversion!
Ah, so you're up at last.
We're down.
And when we're only halfway up, we're neither up nor down.
Good lads. They know their drill.
And our onions, Grandad.
Perhaps you know something useful as well. We're very well placed for the buses when you want to go to the town centre. Tell your grandmother the bus times, Mark.
Buses for what and where?
Oh, don't worry about me. I can find out the times for myself. I've still got a tongue. And now, if you'll just show me what needs doing, I'll get on with it.
There's nothing for you to do, Mother. Judy's cooked today. And in any case, you haven't been introduced to our electronic monsters yet.
But, Harold, there must be something I can do.
Will you all be ready to eat at 1:30?
Ah, Judy, I was just telling your grandmother that you were cooked today. Do you always cook in a hacking coat and riding breeches?
Caroline Ogilvy is going to let me take Punch out for a ride after lunch.
Caroline Ogilvy, whoever she may be, no doubt lunches. We low, common people have dinner, don't we, Mother?
No, dear. My life has been spent in hotels and we always lunched.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses.
And all the king's men.
I couldn't put Humpty together again.
Perhaps Punch is one of the king's horses, Judy.
Well, I want to find out what happened to the nags I backed yesterday. Did you take the Sunday papers, Harold?
Beth liked a cross-section. You'll find the best sporting one in your room, Dad.
Oh, I'll toddle upstairs then.
Don't forget, Grandad. Lunch at 1:30.
I never miss a date with my pretty little granddaughter.
You can tell your grandmother the bus times, Judy. All I know is that they leave from Tidsbury Crescent.
Avenue.
As I was responsible for the completion of the gazetteer of Carshall Streets, I suppose I may be expected to know the difference between Tidsbury Avenue and Tidsbury Crescent.
Yes, you may. But one glance in your gazetteer shows that you don't.
Who dares attack the faithful gazetteer? Mark Calvert, my lad, you'll come to no good. The book we studied at our dear old mother's knee.
Ray's made a gaff.
Your mother was the last person who would want a special hush round her name when she's dead. Do try to be natural.
Being natural, then, I now point out that you'd send poor Gran halfway round Carshall if she followed your advice. You should stick to textbooks. Have you read them, Gran?
No, dear.
Can we place your order for genuine filthy books, madam? Sex in the Schoolroom. That's one of our most successful titles.
I really don't know.
Or Try the Head in His Harem. Calvert's Corruptors, guaranteed a dirty word on every page.
I suppose you think you're being very clever about Daddy's books. Well, at least school teaching is an educated profession.
Thank you, Judy, for that testimony of status. But I think I'll belong to the modern world of electronic engineers and fabric designers rather than pretend to gentility with family solicitors and private school headmaster.
Yeah.
Oh, don't think I was suggesting that being a secondary schoolmaster is any great shakes. And talk about pretension. What about describing Ray as a fabrics designer? He's in the rag trade.
Up to the neck.
Electronic engineers, indeed. Mark's only an apprentice.
Silly little schoolgirl.
Now, boys, you leave my Judykins alone. We women must stick together, mustn't we, Judy?
I must get the lunch.
Yes, we mustn't keep Punch waiting.
He's champing at the bit.
I bet you couldn't ride a horse. Louts.
The Girls' County High suffers from a peculiarly virulent form of conjunctivitis. Status snobbery meets there with social snobbery. I'm afraid it sometimes affects Judy's vision. Now, let's find out about the bus times.
Oh, not again. Gran says she'll ask.
I suppose you're going to produce computers that will make foolproof maps and timetables.
How did you guess? We're working on them at the moment. And to replace headmasters, eliminating the purely hackwork type of manpower, in fact.
Well, if you want to be in at the death, you'd better brush your ways up a bit and get through your exams. Otherwise, you may find Electrometrico have eliminated you before your apprenticeship's finished.
Don't worry, we'll probably all be eliminated long before then.
Oh, no, not again. Not the same old cry. And you call yourselves the cool generation. Can't you even discuss the times of buses without whining about the bomb?
Come on, Mark. Let's leave him and go for our Sundays.
I suppose it's best.
And don't forget, we eat at 1:30.
Oh, my timetables. Meat it is, I set it down.
Yeah, but you never know with Judy. It could be fish.
Oh,
Well, Mother, what are you thinking?
Oh, Harold, you're all so clever, I'm quite confused.
Nonsense.
Arthur and I were never clever. We were never anything, really.
Oh, you know that's not true.
I can't even tell whether you're quarrelling or not. When I think you are, you all start laughing.
Well, sometimes I'm not really sure myself.
And I feel so helpless. This is the first morning of my life when I've had absolutely nothing to do. Not a single thing.
Now, don't blame us. The doctor said you were to take things easy.
Oh, I don't want to dig the garden or carry our furniture upstairs when it arrives, but I must do something, Harold.
You just take it easy for a few days, Mother. The old man seems on top of the world.
Oh, he's impossible. It's quite impossible.
There's just one thing. I've got a responsible position here. I'm one of the leading citizens. I can't have him trading on it.
Oh, he won't, Harold. He's settled down a lot since the bad years. Really, he has.
I'm glad to hear it. I can't have any bother now that this Good Child's Meadow business is coming to a head.
No, Harold.
And now that you've had a look at them, what do you think of the offspring?
Judy's grown into a very pretty girl.
Pretty?
She's very like Beth, Harold. Very like. In character, I mean.
There'll never be another Beth.
No, Harold.
You may have noticed, Mother, that in the opinion of the younger generation, I'm a monster of obstinacy and insensitivity. Well, they may be right. It's been the greatest happiness to me that they should have turned out such rebels. I think you'd find the whole thing would come to you much more easily, Mother, if you really tried to grasp the basic principles on which electric cooking and heating rest. Now, this is a super kitchen.
I'm awfully stupid, Harold, you know, but I've still got a very good memory. I think if you were just to show me the various switches with that chart you gave me, I could pick it all up for myself. I've got a very good sense of timing.
My dear Mother, with an auto timer, there's no need to have a sense of timing.
No, dear.
Now, take this meal we're cooking this evening. Of course, it's not a normal meal. I specially designed it to illustrate all the equipment. Now, the goulash in your top oven. And just for this evening, an example of conspicuous waste, an apple strudel in your lower oven.
Yes.
Of course, that's really reserved for the big fellows, turkeys and such, and for any fiestas. We'll bake there for this little party we're giving for you before Christmas.
Party? Oh, Harold, you never told me.
Just a few young folks to meet the old folks. Well, you'd call them young. The Bartleys and the Cranstons. Oh, and Sally Bulmer. She's the local welfare officer. We're on all the same committees.
It's very sweet of you, Harold, dear. I don't know what to say. I'm afraid your friends will be most disappointed. Your father and I are not much good at parties.
Nonsense. Though you will see the old man smartens himself up a bit, won't you, Mother?
Oh, he's much better at parties than I am.
Now, concentrate on the drop-in hob.
Drop-in hob, yes.
Now, soup for Dad on the thermostat. And on the 2 hob points, 2 veg for my conservative-minded parents.
Thank you, dear.
And now, a special treat for Dad, whose true blue palate can't take goulash. A half chicken for the grill.
Oh, Harold, that's too much.
Well, frankly, I shouldn't have pandered to him like this if it hadn't been a very useful way of demonstrating the rote roaster.
Oh, yes.
Now, let's concentrate on the job in hand. What do you do with the auto-timer?
But I don't need the auto-timer at all, do I?
Why not?
Because we're not going out.
Oh, Mother, you're wrong.
But you explained about the clock yesterday. It starts the meal and turns it off when you're out. I remember.
And I explained another little thing to you. The pinger timer that warns you when the meal is ready when you're in.
Oh, of course, I'd forgotten the little bell, the ringer timer.
Well, no, Mother, I did explain that too. Neither Beth nor I particularly cared for a loud bell in the house, so we had the telephone and the auto-timer fitted with muted pingers instead of ringers. It's a 5-hour pinger.
The damn race has been called off at Winton.
Arthur, I do wish you wouldn't creep around in your slippers.
What have you got your shoes on for? How's your mother getting on with all this electric lark, Harold?
It'll take time.
Harold's showing me how to use the 5-hour pinger timer.
Pinga-ponga. Did you say 5 hours? I don't know, wait 5 ruddy hours from a grub, thank you.
Oh, Arthur, don't be so silly. Of course, dinner won't take that long to cook. The clock hasn't anything to do with 5 hours. It's just its name, isn't it, Harold?
No, Mother. Dad, you're going to have half a grilled chicken to yourself.
Oh, good. Don't forget the Worcester sauce. What I'm looking for now is a bottle of beer. It's no substitute for my evening pint, but if I toddle down to the local on these icy roads, I'm liable to go ask them a tip.
Yeah, help yourself, Dad. It's in the fridge over there.
Oh, I thought that led to another room. Oh, I wouldn't like to be locked inside this lot. Why the hell don't you put all this stuff outside in the frost if your aim is to freeze the taste out of it?
Oughtn't we to warm the plates, Harold?
Yes. Now, see if you can manage by yourself.
Now, let me see. Look, Dad, all this space for plates.
Very nice. Where do you keep the beer mugs, Harold?
On the shelf over there. Now, Mother, what do you do next?
I thought I was finished, Harold.
You've forgotten your warm drawer switch.
Shame on you, Mother. Whatever else you do in this weather, you must keep your drawers warm. Got a mighty great head in it, this stuff. Well, chin, I'm off.
The old man's a bit crude at times. Well, we've got an hour to kill before we grill the chicken. Shall we do a general run through the whole works?
Oh, yes, Harold.
Everything from the deep freeze down to the mixer was Beth's own choice. This whole kitchen is a beautiful memorial to Beth. Mind you, she was no slave to labor-saving devices. She always had taste. No mayonnaise is ever made in a mixer in this house. She had an infinite capacity for patience. She never seemed tired. After a whole day on the bench, dealing with cases that rent her heart and wore out her patience, she still gave the rice 6 separate rinsings. There was never any starch left in Beth's rice.
Anyone in? Oh, hello, Dad. Didn't think it was your turn. Hello, Gran.
Hello, Mark, dear.
I shan't be in to supper, Dad.
Why not?
Evening school.
I thought we were agreed that we'd fix supper time to suit evening classes.
Yes, well, it doesn't.
You're trying to fit in some meeting to save the world from devastation before you go to the tech. That's it, isn't it? My dear boy, can't you tell me? We can agree to disagree, surely.
Anyway, what are you doing in here? It's not your domain.
Your dad's been giving me another lesson.
Oh, take no notice of him, Gran. Just push the knob you like and hope for the best. Don't let him treat you to his little hobbies. We never do, none of us. The great student of social trends. And to hell with the principles of electricity.
Don't use that language before your grandmother, please, old man.
Then I'll use it elsewhere. Ta-ta! Don't you trust him, lady. You does what you wants, how you wants. Oh, hello, Ray. All dressed up and somewhere to go.
Works dance. Cheerio. Ban the bomb.
Oh, he's been at it again. So long.
You've been holding forth again, Dad. I know the look. Word drunk, that's him, Gran. What was the lesson for the day?
Your father's been showing me how to use all these wonderful gadgets. Only I'm so slow to learn.
Oh, never you worry, Gran. I know all the magic words to charm the monsters. I'll bring me wand along and teach you all the spells. Anyway, these monsters will be out of date in a year. So much for you, Dad. You're dismissed.
Oh, Ray, please.
Word drunk, that's him. Oh, Father, dear Father, come home from the soapbox. The principles of electricity. Gran's beginning a new course from tomorrow night, and it'll all be done by flare.
That's all very well for you ex-art school blokes. You can use mumbo-jumbo, the artist's intuition. But your grandmother's never studied art.
She doesn't need to. She's a picture all to herself, aren't you, love?
Oh, thank you, dear.
Well, that's settled. 6:30 in the kitchen, and the password's spaghetti bolognese. Now, how do I look?
You look really smart. What is it tonight?
Works dance. Dancing with our director's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, come along, love, and be Twister Tool's dancing grandmother.
Lucky her.
Oh. Oh, you mean our dear director's wife? Yes, well, I mustn't keep her waiting. Yeah, where's her ladyship? She promised me a buttonhole.
Judy's hobnobbing with her county friend.
Well, if that's the stink she likes, let her breathe it. I'm off. Don't wait up.
Enjoy yourself.
Bye.
Bye.
He's a good lad, isn't he, Mother?
He must be a great favourite with the girls.
Oh, that charm would have spoilt anyone else years ago. There isn't an activity here he doesn't take part in. Sports, dancing, acting, the lot. Of course, he has a natural ease. I watch him walk into a room sometimes, and then I think what an effort it always cost his mother or me to go out to parties.
He must inherit his charm from Arthur. He's always at his best at parties.
Well, Mother, your party will be very informal. I won't introduce you all at once. Just circulate.
It's no good, Sylvie. I can't live here. I have to tell Harold. We'll leave as soon as Ruddy Christmas is over.
Well, we've only been here a week, dear, and the weather's been so bad.
A week too much as far as I'm concerned.
Now, Arthur, I feel a bit lost, too, with nothing to do, but it'll be different as soon as our furniture's arrived. We can make our room like home then, all our own things. You'll have your own old comfortable chair instead of these yellow and black tubular things.
They don't even cover your bottoms.
It's because I'm fat that Dr. Pearson made me retire. Oh, it will be nice when we've got all our own things. And then you won't want to stay in bed all day or wear your pajamas under your shirt. Oh, there, I'm nagging you again.
I never seen such a godforsaken hole as this in my life. Not even in the trenches.
We're very lucky old people, really. You know we've got to live within your pension.
I wish to God you'd have me quietly put to sleep. It'd be far better for all of you to have me out of the way. Is there any beer? This blasted central heating dries up my mouth.
They say it gets rid of all the drafts, dear.
You can all have screens, can't you? Give me the old-fashioned coal fire every time.
Oh, I like them better, too, but they do mean more work. And I must say, it's warmer here in the passages.
Who the hell wants to sit in the passages?
I'll put the temperature down for you. Ray showed me how to.
Oh, good.
He's taken over my training from Harold now, you know. He's a handsome boy. You can tell what a flirt he must be with the girls.
I say he looks like a girl himself with his long eyelashes and big blue eyes.
Whew, it was at 70. What? I've turned it down to 60.
70? What does Harold think we are? Bratty monkeys in the jungle?
Dear, I think he's coming up the stairs.
Well, I hope he breaks his neck.
Oh, Arthur, really, you must be careful.
Oh, I'm wearing my best smile.
Are the old folks at home?
Hello, Harold.
I thought you'd like to see the proofs of the Christmas card. Remember last year's?
Oh, yes. There was a picture of a gigantic pudding, and you'd written underneath it, "Our monster pudding, but we shan't give Beth any." I had to have it explained to me.
That was the year before last, Mother.
Oh, was it?
This year's is a drawing of me wearing wings and singing in the bath, "Hark the Herald Angel Sings." There's a copy, Mother, and one for you, Dad.
Oh, thank you.
I tried to say how happy I am to have you here. It's a poor place, but mine own. Or rather, not exactly that, because, as you know, the new towns preclude freeholds.
Yes, dear. It is a lovely home.
I must say it's more like Englisman's castle and less like the snake house at the zoo. Now that your mother's been shown how to control the central heating.
Mother, who showed you how to alter the thermostat?
Ray did, dear.
He had no
But,
right to. These gauges are very delicate mechanisms, and in any case, they should only be altered in October and March.
Your mother and I suppose will be dried up to ruddy dust.
Of course, if you find the house so uncomfortably hot, the temperature must be lowered. But I would like you to ask me first before. After all, I am the head of the
I
house.
suppose you run the weather outside as well.
When your furniture arrives and you've got your own room fitted up, perhaps you'll be good enough to set the temperature as you want it there. And we can adjust the rest of the house so that we don't all catch our death of cold. I'm sorry. I'm being absurdly pompous.
Yeah.
It's a matter of generations. You live in the glorious age of drafts. We don't.
I can tell you, Harold, as soon as our furniture arrives, you won't see me again in your posh lounge. Not a single comfortable chair to sit on.
We're in the house all day, you see, Harold. You wouldn't want us to be uncomfortable.
I've got some work to do in my study. It's lucky I've kept an electric fire. I nearly threw it out. I didn't think it would ever be needed again.
We must be more careful, Arthur. After all, he is our son.
Hope he roasts himself to death.
Arthur.
Don't look so down in the dumps, for heaven's sake, Sylvie. Because young Master Harold's turned out to be the little twister he always was, we don't have to worry. I told him off all right.
Yes, Arthur, but you must promise me you'll behave yourself tomorrow at the party.
Don't you worry, you little head ducks. I always behave at parties. There's nothing to worry about. As a matter of fact, I've been a bit under the weather for some years. Dicky lungs. The Huns had a spot of poison gas they wanted to get rid of in 17, and yours truly took a basinful of it. Look, here's a certificate of disability I still have to carry around with me.
Now, Father, you don't have to.
It's very necessary, especially in a new place.
My husband oughtn't to spend the winters in England, but there, you're a hero one minute and forgotten the next in this world.
Oh, I'm sure that's not so.
Then you can't know much. Well, we can't ask the public to have too long a memory. There's been a whole generation of new heroes since then. Mrs. Cabot and I had the tragedy of losing our youngest in the last war.
I always thought Harold was an only child.
Oh, no. And we had a daughter killed, too, on the roads.
I must look after the drinks, Mother.
You must be a great student of human nature, Mrs. Calvert.
Must I? I don't see why.
All those hotels, all those residents at close quarters.
Oh, I see. It was a job.
Oh, come now, the things you must have seen.
Not really. There was very little time to look around.
I should say so. She's done the major part of the work all the time. I'm very good at getting in the way. And she's got the business head. She saw the red light in time. Holiday camps instead of hotels. Awful things if you ask me, but nobody is asking me. Anyhow, Mrs. Calvert got out of the business just at the right time, and at a very nice price.
Oh, Arthur, you do exaggerate.
Who do I? Then I'll exaggerate in another corner of the room.
I wasn't the proprietress, really. Here's a caution.
Now, you're Harold's mother. I'd have known it at once.
We are supposed to be rather alike.
I'm Sally Boom.
Oh, yes, you're the welfare officer. Harold's often spoken of you.
Oh, I can't really believe that. Once or twice, but not often.
Oh, yes, he has.
Well, I'll try to believe you, because it'll raise my morale. You see, Harold does so much work, he puts us all to shame. I've been so anxious to have this talk with you.
You have?
You see, you're his mother, and he's overworking.
Is he?
Well, someone's going to tell you that sooner or later, so why not me? Of course, well, the children do their best, but the young have to be selfish. It's the law of life. At present, they're still a bit numb, but it'll wear off, and then look out for squalls.
Oh,
in fact, since she died, well, not that Beth didn't have her faults, but still she was what he looked for when he came home in the evenings. And now he'll have you. Oh, I think that's so good.
Thank you. It's nice of you to say so.
Oh, we all do. Well, most of us, that is.
I won't disguise from you that there is the anti-Harold group, but they're simply the jealous ones. A live wire always makes enemies. And then, I know I'm keeping you, but I believe you'll feel it's been worthwhile.
Oh, it's very good of you to tell me.
I know you can't do anything about all this, but just knowing it may help you to help him, because I assure you he'd never, never tell you it himself. Wild horses wouldn't make him do it. And Cashel, as you may believe, is without wild horses.
But what can Harold do?
But teach. He's a wonderful teacher. And he wastes his time on these outside things, campaigns, committees, surveys, amateur dramatics. He's doing far too much. He very nearly had a bad breakdown just after she died.
A breakdown?
We don't want our Harold running the school in one of his states, and his states are bad. And now, on top of everything else, all this fuss over Goodchild's Meadow. It's a righteous cause, but why our Harold?
Who speaks of good Charles Meadow? Oh, Sally Bulmer. Righteous cause indeed. Oh, introduce me to the guest of honor, Sally.
Oh, sorry.
Jeff,
Yeah?
come over here. I found Harold's mum.
Mrs. Calvert, these are the Bartleys. Muriel and Jeff.
No more, no less.
The Bartles, eh? So there's been talk already.
Harold's mentioned you several times.
Aha, what's he been saying about us? There might be money in it. I've got a good lawyer.
Well, you can ask him yourself. Here he comes with his father.
Hell, what the hell's the filthy stuff in this jug?
Pineapple punch, Dad. Have you met everybody?
Yes, too true I have. Everybody. But Mum hasn't met this pair.
No.
This is Jack and Rennie Cranston, my missus.
How do you do?
How do you do? Ah, the Major's been telling us all about you.
Oh, I wouldn't believe the half of it if I were you.
I don't think the Major really expects us to, but he tells a good story.
How about getting something proper for Mrs. Cranston to drink, Sylvie? I'm sure Harold's got a bottle of scotch tucked away somewhere in his study.
Oh, no, really, thanks. I'm ever so happy with this.
That's what you say now. I bet you'll have a terrible head in the morning. Pineapple for an old man.
Oh, man, I should think. What you feed him on, Mrs. Calvert? Raw meat?
I'll get the scotch for those who want it.
That's more like it. These two, Sylvie, are planning to rob an old man of his last penny at bridge.
Oh, we'd have to get up early to rob your husband, Mrs. Calvert.
I'd stay up the night before if I were you.
Sit down here, Arthur. That's right, yeah. Oh, you can have a scotch in a minute.
You don't have to worry about him, Mrs. Calvert. We're taking him in charge. You'll find plenty of friends here. We both love him already. He's just of an age to get along with my dad, who lives with us. Dad'll come for him in the mornings, and they can go down on the bus together to the British Legion, or have a look in at the Crown. Dad likes a bet and a game of cards, too. They'll make company for each other.
Yes.
Shall he call tomorrow?
Well, not tomorrow, I'm afraid. I know that cough well. I've lived with it for years. My husband's in for one of his bronchial attacks.
Oh.
I could be nursing him for weeks.
Oh, dear. Is there anything I can do?
Nothing, Mrs. Cranston. I know how to cope. I'm very, very used to it.
Well, now, Mother, how do you feel?
Oh, I'm all right, Harold.
That's not good enough, Mother. This is not just a routine inquiry. I really want to know. The old man's as fit as a fiddle, thanks to your nursing. In fact, he's quite a social success in Cashel. Keeps them all in fits of laughter. But you...
Well, my blood pressure's gone down.
I mean, how are you spiritually?
Spiritually? Well, I was never very...
Well, mentally, then. I want to know because, well, it's a sort of anniversary today.
Is it?
Sort of. It's no time till Easter, and you've been here just 3 months.
Really? I'd never have guessed.
Ah, does it seem shorter or longer?
It's hard to say.
It's very important. All this problem of retirement and families has been grossly worked up by the professional sociologists. While they've been arguing, some of the more practical of us have been solving it for them, haven't we, Mother?
Yes, Harold.
Good. So it's time for a review of the situation. You seem to have gone downhill a little since Dad got up and about again.
I do like to have something to do, Harold.
The doctor?
Oh, no, Harold. The doctor was most anxious that I shouldn't be idle. I've worked since I was a little girl on the farm. No worry. That's the thing to avoid. That and back-breaking work. The work here wouldn't break the back of a mouse.
Mother, when your furniture arrived and you were settled in, I replaced Beth's name with yours in the family roster of housework. What could be fairer than that?
But I don't do a full day's work, Harold. Beth had all sorts of other things to do. Why not let me do all the housework, except for the heavy stuff?
It's the children I'm thinking of. They must pull their weight. Besides, everyone's a right to retirement sometime, even in Utopia.
If only I could do something other than housework.
Wait a moment. Can you type?
Well, I wouldn't call it typing, but I used to do the menus and that if the receptionist was away. 2 fingers.
Excellent. You could help Muriel Bartley afternoons, sending out campaign literature about Good Charles Meadow.
I'm not at all clever.
I can't take too prominent a part in this little public agitation, as Muriel knows. With my position as head master, council might start objecting. But I still feel I set the thing in motion. It would be nice to know that one of the family's helping.
Of course, I don't understand about it, but I'll do my best, dear.
That's settled then.
But Mrs. Bartley, shouldn't you ask?
Muriel will do what I say. When can you start?
Tomorrow, if you like. After I've done the morning shopping.
Good. I'll tell Muriel.
No more, thank you, Ray. I've had plenty, really.
Oh, now, love, the family dials round the table are enough to make you want to bring it all up again, I know. But you must be a good girl and eat.
Do, Gran. I know my macaroni pongs a bit.
Mrs. Trenchard-Bourne says she has long spells when food simply revolts her.
I was never a big eater.
You wouldn't think it'll better, would you?
Don't you let them rush you, Mother. You had a long day. Just take your time.
Oh, yes. I've got plenty of time, and
Muriel was very pleased with your help. She phoned me and said so.
Did she?
Oh, and I had a phone call from your headmistress, Judy.
What was that old hen pecking about for?
Well, she apparently feels that your chances of a distinguished career are put in grievous peril by your proposed appearance in my production of Look Back in Anger.
Oh, Daddy, how absolutely mad she really is.
Miss Castle had a quite remarkable university record.
Oh, I know. She's brilliant at biology and botany and all the rest of it. But as a head mistress...
Miss Castle believes that rehearsals for the play are not advisable in your A-level year. That must be enough for me. Luckily, we've only had the read-through and one rehearsal.
But, Daddy, you said you wanted me in it.
I did. But this sort of thing can't possibly interfere with your A-levels.
But I don't want to go to a university anyway.
Your mother...
Mummy didn't go to one. She was doing some sort of social science certificate when she met you. She told me. And she didn't want me to go to a university.
You will kindly never say that again, Judy. Your mother would abide by my decision.
Don't worry, Judykins. You'll be the belle of the ball wherever you go.
I'm sorry, Judy, if you're disappointed. Of course, I should have liked you in the play. But such disappointments are a part of life, you know.
Well, if we're to get 3 rubbers into the night, I must be toddling. Excuse me, Harold, old lad. Bye, all.
Goodbye, dear.
Oh, cheerio, Grandad.
Bye, Grandad. What's the play about, Harold, dear?
Well, to be honest, it's strictly not for the mums. No, it concerns one Jimmy Porter, the most likable, unlikable youngster who ever wanted to set the world to rights if he knew how. The part's a natural one for our mark here.
Who isn't, by the way, going to be able to play it after all?
Cool, that's torn it.
Did I really hear what I thought I heard?
You heard.
Oh, I shall be sorry not to see you on the stage, Mark, dear.
Well, you won't, I'm afraid, Gran. You might have old Ray here instead.
Oh, no, she won't. I've never looked back, and what's more, I'm never angry.
May I inquire your reasons for evading your commitment?
You ought to do it, really, Ray. You'd have fun.
I want an answer, Mark. I'm not unreasonable, you know. If it's the evening classes, well, of course, I must accept it, as in the case of Judy.
Mark isn't in it, and it's the end of the world, but anybody can play my part, I suppose.
What's biting her?
She's tired. She wants to be by herself.
If you work that girl up much more, Dad, she'll die of starvation. She takes most of her meals at the Run now.
I'm waiting to know your serious reasons for letting me down, Mark. I thought we'd fixed the evening classes when we scheduled the rehearsals.
We had. It's nothing to do with evening classes. The local C&D committee's chosen me to go to a unity discussion with 100 people. The dates clash. That's all.
That's all. I must say.
Such disappointments are a part of life. That's what you said, wasn't it?
Now, see here.
Look! You very nearly had it, you know. We stood it when we were kids. We stood it when Mum was ill. We stood it after she died. But if there's not much more coming from you, I can tell you just now where you can stuff it. I'll go and stay with friends. Come on, Ray, let's get some fresh air.
That will be quite enough of that. Thank you, Wardress Webb. You see, No, I don't want to hear any excuses. The rules about makeup for prisoners are perfectly clear.
But Wiggins swore blue that she'd been out of the storeroom when this month's makeup packs were distributed.
My dear Wardress Webb, if you're going to believe everything that women like Wiggin tell you, they don't happen to be very honest, you know. That's why they're here.
Yes, I realise that.
TV!
But I'm not acting as I used to.
TV!
Oh, everybody's out, I'm afraid, Miss Bulmer.
Except you. Now, what am I interrupting?
Oh, it's Wardress Webb.
Oh, the new serial. Isn't it the most magnificent rubbish?
I'm afraid I rather enjoy it.
Then you shouldn't. Oh, there's no harm in it in mild doses, but night after night. Good Lord, woman, you've got more to do than that.
It's very kind of you, Miss Bulmer, I know, but I'm not at all a clever person, and what appeals to me wouldn't appeal to you.
Well, you can't be a half-wit. You've run a good number of hotels for a good number of years, and that isn't idiot's work. Harold's very worried about you.
About me? I should have thought he'd be more worried about Mark running off like that.
Not at all. I've told him it'll make a man of him. The Foresters where he's staying are very nice people. He'll be back. No, he's worried about you letting Mrs. Bartley down.
But I didn't let her down. I finished the job I was asked to do.
Yes,
But when she began finding other little jobs, it became silly. I realize I've got to make my own life. I can't have little jobs invented for me at my age. And I never really understood all that meadow business.
Well, it's even more complicated now that the Save the Meadow League has made a counter-proposal. The idea is that instead of using the meadow, the ministry should agree to a small extension of the town into the surrounding country. And as it happens, the farmer who rents the meadow also owns some suitable building land on the outskirts. So if he sold that to the corporation, nobody would be the loser.
Oh, I still don't understand.
Oh, there's plenty of other things going on in our new town.
But I'm not used to doing nothing, Miss Bulmer. But it must be in my own way. It mustn't be made to happen. It must just happen.
Well, we're all very worried about you. Even the children say you're not eating enough.
Oh, it's very kind of you to worry, Miss Bulmer. I know it's your job.
Job? Oh, I've not come here as a welfare officer, bless you. I've come here as woman to woman. I've always felt very close to the Calvert family. And now that Beth...
Then it's even kinder of you to want to help me. But
Oh, it's not you, principally. Harold is too important to Carshall. We can't afford it for him to have mum trouble.
I see.
So we must do something about it, mustn't we? Oh, now, what's this you've been reading?
Oh, it's rather good. It's about a girl who's maid of honor to Queen Anne.
Queen Anne? Queen Anne's dead, woman, very dead. And I bet it's all very different in your book. 14 children dead before her, surrounded by intrigue, swollen with dropsy, broken by remorse. She's dead, all right. But Carshall isn't. It's full of life and people and things to do. Come out and meet us. Well, some of us are bores at times, but you'll have lots of fun.
I'm not a girl, Miss Bulmer.
I know that. But I'll tell you what you are. You're a bit of a juggins. Why are you living in other people's lives all the time, Mrs. Calvert? And what people? Wardress Webb and Queen Anne.
Yes. I have my own life, after all, haven't
That's
I?
just what I'm trying to tell you. Now that the weather's picking up, you must get round and about more.
Well, I shop twice a week.
Shop? Oh, no. I don't mean that kind of thing. I mean adventure. Away from the telly, away from books.
I've not been very well, you know.
Well, you'll be much worse if you go on in this way. You'll be a nutcase. Telly-itis. It's the scourge of our time. Well, you don't even sit out in the garden. That's the done thing round here. You don't have to worry about calling to neighbours over the fence. There's no snobbery of that kind, thank the Lord.
Well, I'm really rather a friendly person, I think.
Well, if you do want to get out among people, Gorman's Wood is only a step. Or you could take the bus to Suckley Park. I don't expect you ever went there on your previous visits. Beth was never very keen on walking. It used to look like a private garden then, but they've made a lot of changes. It's all most attractive and put to good use now.
Well, the first really fine day, I'll start visiting. I'll find plenty to do as I go along. It's just taken me a little time to settle down, that's all.
A little time? It's very nearly 6 months. Oh. Sorry if I've made myself disagreeable, but, well, somebody had to do it. It's shock treatment. It may or may not work. That's up to you.
You needn't apologize, Miss Bulmer. You've told me things I really knew all the time. You needn't worry about me.
I thought you were giving us ravioli, Ray, not spaghetti bolognese.
It's the same.
Yes, but not the same pasta. I'd look forward to ravioli. I suggest we pass a vote of censure on the cook for a culpable, misleading menu.
It was my fault, really. I spent so much time wandering round Old Carshall.
Old Carshall? What on earth did you find to do there? I don't believe I've been there for 6 years.
I thought some of it was beautiful.
Some idiot at the county council wanted me to give a lunch last year at the Crown for a visiting group of educationalists from Yugoslavia. I refused to lend myself to that sort of deception. If our school meals are good enough for the boys and the staff, they're good enough for visiting VIPs. I was amused to find that the British council chap who came down with them agreed with me.
I had a very nice afternoon tea at the Crown.
Regular old gadabout she's becoming her old age.
Mrs. Trenchard Ball always uses the Crown.
Enough said. How have you been getting on touring on your own, love?
Well, I mostly go into the countryside. I was brought up on a farm, you know. There's only one area I haven't been to yet. That's Ardley Forest.
I'll wait till this unsettled weather's over. It's hot enough for thunderstorms. There's a lot of wonky beech trees there.
I went to Gorman's Wood the other day. I really can't see why they don't build there instead of Good Child's Meadow.
Careful, Gran.
I can look after myself, Ray. You may have formed that opinion, Mother, but I hope you won't broadcast it about. You could do our cause a lot of harm.
I don't know why anyone should take any account of your mother's views on local politics.
Just because she is my mother, Dad.
I still don't see...
Did you go anywhere else, sir?
I went round a school.
What school, Mother?
It was called the Rectory School, I think.
Oh, love, you do choose your walks clumsily.
Oh, it's an awful place, Gran. Mrs. Ogilvy says she can't imagine who could send a girl there.
Now, you know, Mother, even the county rejected.
It was only that it reminded me so much of the rectory.
Rectory? What rectory, Gran?
The rectory where I was in service as a girl, dear.
Your grandmother was housekeeper?
No, Arthur, it was before I met you. I was a housemaid.
How did you meet?
Later on, I was working at Lady Pembroke's country house. She'd given it for a hospital. Your grandfather was badly gassed, you know, and he wanted nursing all the time.
By God, I did.
So you were a nurse then, Gran?
Oh, no, dear. I was terrified of the nurses. They looked so stiff and starched when I looked up from scrubbing the floor.
I bet it was drafty in the rectory.
Well, it was in the kitchen quarters, but the gentry were protected by a green baize door.
Did you wear a pretty cap, love?
Yes, I suppose it was rather pretty, with long ribbons behind, you know.
There's no need to look ashamed, Judy, because your grandmother was in service.
I wasn't, Gran, I wasn't.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered if you had been, dear. It all happened in another world. At the beginning of the First War. Oh, things were very different then, you know. Especially in the countryside.
Perhaps Judy looked ashamed because you never told us, Dad.
I choose to ignore that remark, Ray. Well, Mother, what are you planning for tomorrow?
If it's a nice morning, I thought I'd take a lot of sandwiches and explore Ardley Forest. Oh, wretched rain. Arthur! No sense in shouting, I suppose. He can't hear. What on earth? Oh, the poor little thing.
You must get away from that tree. Come over to me, dear. You'll be all right here. Come on.
Oh, dear, she won't move.
It's all right, dear. I'm coming.
Oh, I do wish I wasn't so heavy.
Now, don't stir, dear. Just you rest.
How's the little girl?
I'm keeping her in bed today.
Today?
You had a little turn after you brought Mandy home yesterday. You'll find your thighs a little bruised. I think you banged it against the table.
Oh, but I'm all right. I must get up.
You'll do as you're told. I'm going to spoil you a little.
But Arthur, Captain Calvert, my husband...
They're one and the same person, aren't they? I phoned last night and spoke to your grandson. Raymond, was it? We decided it was best you rested here for the night, and they'll pick you up today lunchtime.
Oh, I'm sorry to have been such a nuisance. You see, Captain Calvert's an invalid, and my son Harold was out last night over this Good Child's Meadow business.
Good Child's Meadow? Oh, Lord.
Why, do you know about it?
Mommy, I don't want to stay in my bed. I want to get into hers.
You don't mind, Mrs. Calvert?
Of course not. Come on, dear. Climb in.
She's wearing your nightgown.
Now, Mandy, that's rude. She saves your life and you bawl her out for not bringing her nightgown with her.
I do bring my own clothes when I go away to stay, but I didn't know I'd be staying.
Well, you'll stay here often from now on because you saved my life.
Mandy, that's a very conceited thing to say.
Wasn't it awful, the crash of thunder?
Mm-hmm.
And weren't we scared?
We were.
You don't have to stay here just 'cause you saved me. No, you must stay here because you've got a very pretty face.
Now, Mandy, that's personal and silly. Oh, I don't mean silly. How awful of me. You have got a nice face. We'd like you to visit us whenever you can.
That's very kind of you, but my home is so near.
I'd have a nice rest now till your folks come. However, I must make a start. Right now, I've got to make a whole raft of sandwiches. Now, Mandy, let Mrs. Calvert rest, won't you?
I guess we can talk now. Making sandwiches. That's all she does.
The farmer's wife has always something to do with Mandy.
How do you know?
Oh, I was born on a farm. My mother never stopped working. There were always jobs.
Like what?
Well, there were the eggs to collect. That meant a regular old hide-and-seek.
What do you mean, hide and seek?
Well, you could never tell where they'd lay.
Were they loose? Do you mean they went round the place as they pleased?
Yes, they'd run all over the farm.
Oh, tell me more. Tell me more.
You're not still talking.
Well,
Oh, for heaven's sake, Mrs. Calvert. I don't mean you. I mean Mandy. It's getting on for 11:45.
Oh, dear, the morning has gone quickly. They'll be here soon, and I'm not dressed. I'm not even up.
Now, don't you move. You just stay in bed until they arrive, and I'll bring them up. Then we can all see how you feel.
Mommy, do you know all the things she did when she was little?
No, dear. You can tell me this evening.
Please, let me tell you some now. Do you know she used to think you could tell who liked butter by putting flowers under their chins? And she wore a pinafore and a straw bonnet, and donkeys wore bonnets, too.
Dear.
I think you better move in here, Mrs. Calvert. Visiting won't be enough.
Ciao.
Oh, come on up, Timbo. It's your house.
Yes, Daddy, come on up. Do you know her mother used to put a peeled onion in her ear? She had the earache. Isn't it awful?
Is it all right, Mrs. Calvert?
Of course, Mr. Egan.
Do you think I'd ask you to come in if it wasn't?
Well, this is Mrs. Calvert's bedroom, sir.
Daddy, she knew an old woman that had drunk soup made of mice to cure a cold.
Good Lord.
Timbo, I don't know the minds of the British. You banished Mrs. Calvert's thigh last night, and now you hesitate to enter her room.
That was professional, darling.
That was professional. Wouldn't you know right away, Mrs. Calvert, that he taught school?
Really?
Yeah. James Master at a boys' public school in Victoria. I used to think Vancouver was bad enough when Dad's firm sent him there from California. But Victoria? Oh, boy. Oh, very British. Thank the Lord his aunt died and left him this place.
Good old auntie.
I don't say I'm crazy about Britain, but my God, you should see the imitations overseas.
I thought Daddy was cutting down trees when you met him.
No, dear. You've no idea what he was like then, Mrs. Calvert. Actually, I was hoping to work in timber when I came to Canada. That's when I first called him Timbo. He seemed a dope, but you can't tell with British men.
Thank you, dear. What are we having for lunch?
It's cold, and it's all ready. The Calverts will be here any minute. Mrs. C says her son is always on the dot.
Must you go?
Oh, yes, dear.
Must you, Mommy?
Oh, you've had enough of me to go on with.
No, we haven't, have we, Mommy?
I wish you would come back soon if you can, Mrs. C. I'd come and get you in the car, and you could stay the night if you wished. I don't want Mandy going back to school for a while. If you could be with her. I'm just so busy on the farm this time of year.
Well, really,
Well, you better make up your mind to come often, Mrs. Calvert. You're Mandy's latest craze, and then Shirley likes to see people. The right people, that is. She doesn't see many these days. Oh, there's a car drawing up. That must be them.
Them? Really, darling, they're Mrs. Calvert's family, not the plumbers. Mandy, you come down with me and I'll let our guests in. Then you can bring them up to see your lifesaver.
You sure I shouldn't dress first?
Quite sure. Here's my compact. Smarten yourself up.
Thank you.
Come on, Mommy. Race you.
Off we go. Oh, really, Mr. Egan, I must apologize for all the trouble I've
Trouble?
caused you.
Oh, you don't seem to realize that but for you, we might be missing a daughter. Oh, trouble indeed.
Mandy exaggerates.
I know my little girl, and I saw the state she was in when you brought her here.
Really staying on in your house all morning. We got talking.
Now, look, Mrs. Calvert, get this clear. Shirley and Mandy both like you, and as far as I'm concerned, that's all that matters. It's the only criterion I make for guests in this house.
Here she is. Here she is. There was smoke, too, wasn't there?
Yes, dear.
Well, when he was nearly struck by lightning, there was only flame. That's what he says.
Oh, Arthur.
All right, old girl. Harold's parking the car. Got a kiss?
Oh, don't be silly. Arthur, this is Mr. Egan.
Oh, welcome to Murrell Farm. Captain Calvert, isn't it?
Major. Thank God old Sylvia's all right. I don't want to go through another night of anxiety like last night.
Oh, he's an old fraud. I bet he slept like a top.
Not a wink, a tossed and turned.
And snored and snored. I don't believe a word of it.
As soon as your son has seen you and passed you as fit, we'll have a drink downstairs and leave you to get dressed. What will you drink, Major?
I'm afraid the doctors made me cut it out. An occasional light ale. I have all the other vices.
I keep cider for the men. Perhaps that would do.
Here she is. Here she is. She saved my life.
So, you're a heroine, Mother.
This is my son, Harold, Mr. Egan.
How do you do? Welcome.
I've been trying to meet you for weeks, but you farmers are hard to trap. Do you realize, Mother, that Egan leases Goodchild's Meadow? He's a very important chap. I hope I can bring the wider issues home to you. I can't help feeling that Egan's not really pulling his weight. Technically, he's on our side, but he's had over a month to get cracking and nothing's happened.
Well, he's quite honest about it. He's trying to keep his lease of the meadow only because it belonged to his aunt's family for centuries, and he feels she'd want him to try. He's offered a piece of his other land in exchange.
Does he ever say what he thinks the minister's decision is likely to be?
I don't see much of Mr. Egan, dear. Mrs. Egan and I only talk a lot of women's natter.
I've no idea how you pass the time. You're there about 5 afternoons a week. You seem to be a great favorite.
They're very nice. As long as my gabble amuses a little girl, I spend most of the time with her. Really, it's like living my childhood over again. But of course, much nicer.
Nicer?
Oh, much. I didn't have a very happy childhood.
You've never talked about it.
I've tried to forget it. It wasn't happy at all.
I do hope they're not making use of you, Mother.
They'll never know what they've done for me. Harold, don't you think you're doing too much about the meadow? All these committees.
Did they tell you that?
Of course not.
Beth was very strong about the artificial division between town and country. Oh, God, Mother, how I miss her. And the children don't care. They don't miss her at all.
Now, Harold, they're growing up, that's all.
And I promised her, on her deathbed, that I'd keep us together. And now Mark...
Oh, he'll come back.
How do you know?
I've seen him.
You have?
Yes, in Old Castle.
Well, he's not going to use the place as an hotel. Who's that on the stairs? I thought Father was playing cards at the Bartleys.
Oh, it's Judy.
Oh, it can't be. She's working evenings in the library. Her exams are almost due.
Hello.
Oh, Judy, dear, how pretty.
Do you like it?
Oh, it's lovely. Tangerine, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And where may you be going, young lady?
Oh, it's an awful bore, really. It's the first barbecue of the summer. They're mostly rather awful, small farmers and people. But Mrs. Ogilvy says it's terribly important to rally round all the same.
Go upstairs and get on with some work.
Excuse me, Dad.
Now, Harold, don't be silly, dear. You can make up for it later.
I wish you wouldn't interfere, Mother. I must do what I think Beth would wish.
Mummy liked me to look nice?
Yes, dear. I'm sure Beth would not have minded.
Do you think... Are you sure? I've no wish to play the heavy Victorian father, God knows. If you think... All right, Judy. Run along.
Thank you, Dad. Bye, Gran.
Bye, dear.
Well, Mother, I hope you've got your Chinese kimono, or whatever they call it, back from the cleaners for the 23rd.
The 23rd?
I know the 23rd isn't your birthday, but it's the nearest day to it that the Bartleys are free. And they've been so good at having Dad over for cards since the Cranstons became so impossible.
Oh, yes.
In any case, I thought you'd like another woman at the party, apart from Judy. Family occasions haven't been ideal lately, without Beth. Oh, and I'd like to ask Mark along for your birthday, if you see him.
Now, that'd be nice. He was asking all about the family when we met.
Ruddy waste of time. Neither she nor Jeff Bartley can take anything on the chin. Oh, hello, Mum. They have no sporting Easter between them, Harold.
You're a bit inclined to think that nobody's a sportsman but yourself.
My dear boy, I've had a long experience with the card tables, but I'm not going there again.
There's some supper in the kitchen, Arthur.
Oh, thank God for that. I hate that. Tiny sandwiches, hardly a mouthful.
Don't be bitter about the Bartleys, Dad. They're coming to Mum's birthday party next week.
Oh.
You better look out your pigtails. We're taking her to Chen Fu's.
He's a very good fighting man, you chink. We had a few of them with us in Flanders, you know. Oh, they spoil for a fight.
Are you sure you're not making it up for the occasion, Father? Having just consumed an exquisite Chinese meal.
A case of food over mind, eh, Grandad?
I always got on very well with the C&C.
Yeah, oh, yes. You and Lord Kitchener swapped marbles as kids.
I'm afraid that your knowledge of the war that made the world safe here is a bit deficient. Kitchener was dead in 16.
Oh, I say, we are going back to school. Don't forget Jeff's only a common Cockney boy.
Well, being dead wouldn't stop him, would it, Captain, eh? So many of your pals have done their best work when they're dead.
What do you mean, Mother?
I don't see why I shouldn't be allowed the honour of sitting next to Arthur, even if he is my husband.
They didn't have a big enough table for us, Mother, so we had to take two.
You take my place, Gran.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Yes, thank you. I don't often blow his trumpet for him, but in all my 65 years, I've never met a better storyteller, and I can't think of better company for my birthday. What you got?
Watch it later.
Oh, carry on. Don't mind us. We're all right.
She's getting proper shocking in her old age, isn't she? Oh, there you are. Birthday has its privileges.
I'm awfully glad you were able to come along, Jeff. You and Muriel are not easy people to get hold of these days.
Muriel's the one who carts me out every night. I'm a simple stay-at-home chap underneath the mask.
And what a mask. Did you ever see such pouches under the eyes?
But surely you're at home for your poker nights.
We haven't had a poker game for weeks.
But, I must have misunderstood. Oh, look at the lovebirds. They've forgotten all about us. Well, you'll miss your poker games, especially since the Cranstons have turned so funny.
The
the remedy is in the captain's own hands.
Once bitten, twice shy. I'm not starting the poker game up again, not even if the captain's famous dividends start paying. Now, which is it? Tin mines in Tooting or copper in Camberwell? I always forget.
I'm afraid I don't follow you, dear.
Nice to see you again, Mark.
Mark has been striking out for himself lately. It'll make a man of him.
I've been hearing big things of you, Mark. Your boss talks of you as one of the white hopes of Electrometrico.
It won't much longer. I'm not stopping that.
Oh? What are you going to do?
I'm joining the Hunger Relief Committee. Probably in one of the North African countries.
Good for you, Mark.
I'm glad you're happy about it, Mother.
Mark's an idealist, like all the family. After all, he's only taking after you, Harold. Look at the way you're behaving over the good Charles Meadow. You're making it very difficult for me, as one of the school governors, to defend your actions to the council.
How did the exams go, Judy?
Not at all badly, Mr. Bartley, thank you.
Oh, good.
I suppose you'll have a nice long holiday now.
I'm hoping to go to France. My friend Caroline Ogilvy knows a marvelous French family who have a chateau near Blois. They speak the French of Racine.
I don't intend to pay large sums for my daughter to spend her time with a lot of French snobs who haven't even grasped that they've had a revolution.
Oh, Daddy, really?
People ask why I left home. Look, Gran, it's your birthday. Make him stop.
Yes, shut up, all of you. Shut up. And, of course, Judy must stay with her friends. She's worked hard all the year.
Oh, be a sport, Harold.
All right, Mother. For your sake, I don't care whether they speak the French of Charlemagne.
What's that stuff to give the truth?
Splendid, Harold. Ah, here comes a ray of sunshine.
Hello, Duchess. Sorry I'm late. Fancy seeing you in an oriental hideout.
Oh, it's a lovely place for a birthday.
Sweet 17 and never been kissed.
65, I'm afraid.
What, 65 and still alive? It'll be better next year. 66 and out for kicks.
Oh, much too late for that, Ray. But there's life in the old girl yet. I'm sure you heard what the Bartleys said at the party, but there's nothing we can't put right. Arthur, you are not asleep, I know. I'm only trying to help you. Now, how much do you owe? To the Bartleys and the Cranstons, I mean. We don't want them going to Harold. I've got something put away in the post office. You had all the gratuity the hotel gave me for the bets at Eastsea, but there's what I've saved.
That's right. Throw what you've done for me in my face. I can hardly breathe in this heat.
I didn't mean to bring it up, Arthur, but do let me settle this. We've not got so many years left, dear, that we can afford to be miserable. We must start again. How much do you owe?
About 150.
Oh, Arthur. And you sure that's all?
Apart from a tenner to our beloved son.
And I'll pay them all as soon as I can draw the money out.
What do you mean, you'll pay them? Very nice there to look. Mrs. Calvert graciously pays her husband's debts.
I'm afraid that's how it's got to be.
So you don't even trust me with a few quid?
Oh, Arthur, I don't know how you can say the same things again and again after so many years.
I suppose you'll tell young Master Harold of your wonderful generosity. That's one thing I'm not standing for. My charming son looking down his nose at me. Can't even part with a tenner without a sermon.
He's generous in other ways, dear.
Mm-hmm.
You must realize we just haven't got the money for cards and horses and that.
If I'd had a bit of capital, Sylvia, this last month I could have covered my losses and come up with a small fortune in the end.
I'm sure you could have done, Arthur, but we haven't got any capital. No. Go to sleep.
I tell you this, Sylvie. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't care a damn if I went tomorrow.
It's nice to have you back, Mark. But what's got hold of Ray?
Oh, he's in some sort of trouble. Nothing serious, mind you, but it could be in a place like London. So, for Dad's sake, he's skipped London.
For Harold's sake? Oh, dear me. It's all so confusing. I had a very jolly postcard from him this morning. You'd think he was on holiday.
He'll be all right. He's with a friend.
I don't know. And what made you change your mind?
Well, Electrometrico seem to think that I'm the cat's whiskers.
Good.
And when I went to Yugoslavia this summer, I felt out of it. Priscilla White, she was one of our party, Priscilla said she'd never seen a more typical Englishman abroad. Perhaps famine relief's not for me. Anyway, I can't go back on it now. I'm entered in the Institute. So in a few years, your spotty grandson will be Mark Calvert, A-M-I-E-E.
I'm so pleased, dear. Oh, here comes your father striding up the path.
Someone following behind like a bearer. Oh, it's Sally Bull, the welfare.
He's looking very angry.
Perhaps he's had Ray's letter.
Oh, dear. Sometimes I think he's going to have one of those breakdown things that seem so common now.
Hello, Dad.
Thank God your mother's not alive for this. It would have killed her.
Well, I'm back anyway, Dad, even if Ray's left.
Beth loved the meadow. We've lost. The report's just out.
Oh. Well, the ministry must know what they're doing, Dad.
Why? A gaggle of Whitehall bureaucrats.
Well, it certainly took their time. Maps, statistics, survey, polls, the lot.
Yes, but notice when. During the silly season. Everyone on holiday. Oh, they've been clever. Diabolically clever. And we've not finished yet. Fool Muriel Bartley's panicked, but...
I thought she was one of Beth's best friends.
Beth was always too trusting. It was her one fault. If it is a fault. Anyway, Sally Bulmer's proving herself an angel. She's here tidying herself up.
She's never done that before.
We're not taking it sitting down. We're going to draft out a manifesto together and organize a protest meeting.
It's funny, I never thought Sally was very het up about the meadow.
I remember her telling me that Harold should drop it.
Well, in a crisis, she's turned out a real brick. Here she is.
Hello, everybody. You know, Harold, we could get 700 into the Carshall Community Centre for the meeting.
We'll need bands to lead the march.
Surely you've done enough, Harold.
Yes, Dad, lay off a bit. Term starts soon. If you get into one of your states, you'll give the kids hell.
Beth felt very strongly.
Harold, dear.
You keep out of this, Mother. If your precious friend Egan had pulled his weight, this would never have happened.
That's unfair, Harold.
You should have urged him on.
Don't bully your mother, Harold. Oh. Good morning, Captain. The slivered pantaloon, eh?
Is it? If this ruddy rain goes on, there won't be any play at Old Trafford. Just my luck.
I wonder if in the whole course of your life you've had a single thought that went further than your own little ego.
Don't speak to me like that. I've been pushed around enough as it is.
I'll speak exactly as I choose. I provide you with a roof over your head, and you come here and quarrel with all my friends and borrow money from me and God knows what else.
You'll be ashamed later, Harold, to have spoken to your dad like that.
Fancy talking to the poor old chap like that, as if he had anything to do with the meadow.
Would you mind keeping out of my family business, Sally?
Oh, don't be such a pompous ass. You'll be grateful to me one day.
I can see I'm not wanted here.
Don't worry about him, Arthur, love. You ought to have given him more hidings as a boy. He's been too well cushioned all his life.
You hear that, Dad? Nice friendly lot, aren't we?
I'm sorry, Harold, but if your father won't stand up for himself...
I can't be bothered. I'll not stay where I'm not wanted. The rain may have stopped.
I'm sorry, Dad. I really am. I've had a very disturbing morning. I'll help you upstairs. Mark, take the other side. Oh, when I come down, we'll draft the manifesto in my study, Sally.
I'd like to thank you, Miss Bulmer.
Fat lot of use I've been, Mrs. Calvert. But you ought to get him to see a doctor as soon as possible.
I wish I could, but I can't talk to him. I don't think anybody can. This meadow business has made him quite impossible.
What? Oh, him? No, I didn't mean Harold. He lives on the edge of a nervous breakdown. He always has, he always will, unless he finds someone sensible to look after him. No, I meant the old boy. He looks terrible. Can't you see? He's dying.
Well, Mother, here we are. On our own. Except for Mark using us as a doss house. Judy will probably come back when she's finished staying on with her grand friends in France. As for Ray, I suppose he'll never enter this house again.
Oh, Harold.
Judy, Mark, Ray. Not one of them hasn't thought of themselves.
Of course.
It seems hard to say it, Mother, so soon after the funeral, but one can't help thinking Dad's was a wasted life. He had genuine ability and considerable personality, but he never settled to anything.
Settled to anything? Harold, how can you? Dad's war gave him a disabled officer's pension and told him to find a gentleman's occupation, even if he wasn't one. How could he settle down? We all laughed at Dad, at his tales and his boasting, but what could he be? At least he was a character.
Well, it's very generous of you to say all this, Mother, considering the life he led you.
I'm not going to pretend he didn't. Arthur said that when he was up, I was down. And he was right. And now it's the other way round. I shall be better off without all the worry he gave me. But what a thing to have to say after all those years. But we started out on different floors, your dad and me, and I'm afraid we always stayed on them. Until quite recently. That was our lives. And then they say the good old days. No, you're quite right to be proud of Carshall, Harold.
I'm glad you think so.
I don't know if you're proud for the right reasons. I'd like to see our old rector's wife trying to talk to the people in the new town like she talked to my mother. I'd like to see it. Oh, it was bad to be poor in those days. Very bad. We were the poor and meant to stay that way.
The sociologists wouldn't explain it quite that way, I don't think.
There are things you can't explain. Can you explain your children?
I can't get through to them, Mother. It's all a thick fog. Beth was everything to me, and they don't care. Not any of the three of them. They don't miss her. They're glad she's dead.
It doesn't happen like that. You're imagining it.
They hate me. I hate them. They can't talk to me. I feel as I was walking through a dark tunnel. I work and work to try to get out of it that way.
You can't, Harold. Not really, I think. Not once you're in it.
Good God, Mother, I'm not a coward.
I didn't think you were, dear. But that doesn't really help. You have to go on. Through it.
And supposing there's no end to it?
It's a bit of luck, if there is, I think. At any rate, it was for me. I had a late call. Otherwise, without luck.
Mother, you surprise me.
I sometimes surprise myself these days, dear.
Mrs. C? Mrs. C?
Shirley.
Can I take you home?
Oh, that would be nice.
Oh, get in. Oh, what's your hat? Okay?
Yes, thank you.
We haven't seen you since the funeral, Mrs. C. Why hadn't you been?
Oh, Mandy's tired of an old woman like me.
That's true. Well, let us say that she's found other interests. But I haven't tired of you or Timber.
You're very kind.
So you must start your visits again, promise?
I promise.
And you mustn't mind if the red carpet is replaced by an ordinary rug.
I'd prefer it.
That is a relief. I had thought your dropping us had something to do with Timbo's blasted meadow.
Oh, no, Shirley, no. Thank God we won't be hearing any more about that.
Amen.
No, I was just sorting myself out after Arthur's death. Wait, where are you taking me?
Home?
I wasn't thinking, I am sorry. We're going the wrong way.
I should know, Mrs. C.
Oh, but I've got a lovely flat right in the center of Castle Old Town.
Mrs. C, how wonderful. I'll take you there. I'll have to reverse when I can.
Yes, it's my last move, but one.
Mrs. C, you're looking younger than ever.
It's on the ground floor and a good center for operations. Operations. Oh, what a gloom I am.
You know what I think, Mrs. C?
What do you think?
I think you're in splendid form these days.
Yes, Shirley,
I think I am.
In Late Call, a radio version by Eric Ewens of a novel by Angus Wilson, the part of Sylvia Calvert was played by Marjorie Westbury. Captain Arthur Calvert by Geoffrey Winkett, Harold Calvert by Brian Haynes, Mark Calvert by Alaric Cotter, Ray Calvert by John Rye, Judy Calvert, Susan Maudsley, Sally Bulmer, Pauline Letts, Jeff Bartley, Peter Tuddenham, Muriel Bartley, Jan Edwards, Shirl Egan, Anne Murray, Timbo Egan, Frederick Treves, and Mandy, Hilda Kreisman. Other parts were played by Maddie Head, John Brining, and Hilda Kreisman. The play was produced by Norman Wright.